Cricket Last with me, Neel Khagram. Today we're joined by Stuart Law. How you doing?
I'm going well, mate. Back to work now, so not climbing the walls anymore. Outside in the fresh air. So looking forward to the next couple of weeks as well.
So let's take it all the way back for yourself. You're born in Australia, Brisbane. What's the earliest memories of the sport?
I was basically born with a cricket bat in my hand. Coming from a very sporting family. My father was a good cricket player, plus a good rugby player. My grandfather was a good tennis player and cricketer. My uncles both played rugby and a bit of cricket, not much, but so I was born into a sporting family, and I think I was about, I can't exactly remember the age, but it would have been about 4 or 5 when my grandfather ran at my mum and dad's house. He put a tennis racket and a cricket bat against the back fence of the house and said, "Right, pick one and I'll teach you how to play it." And for me, there was only one choice, to pick the cricket bat. Had I chosen the tennis racket, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be on an island in the Bahamas or something like that, the way things panned out. But look, to be honest, as I said before, born with a cricket bat in my hand, destiny was always cricket. And from a very young age, I only wanted to play cricket and do nothing else.
So who was your hero when you were growing up?
Well, first and foremost, started with my father. Watching him play grade cricket. Played for Queensland country as well, so I remember going watching him quite a bit. And then as I got older, I didn't watch him so much. I was always off on the side playing with the kids that were there. And growing up, when I started playing proper cricket, I was lucky enough to have a mentor in Greg Chappell. One of the greatest players that Australia's ever produced. Technically, perfection, and he had power, poise, attitude, everything. And from there, I really love watching Viv Richards. The way the aggressiveness he took to each attack, and just the no backing down, always standing up for a fight. And Martin Crowe was the finishing touch. He was a mixture of the both. He had a great technique, but he also had immense power. So those three moulded the way I wanted to play cricket. I didn't try to be like them. I didn't try to look like them. I tried to have their attitude and the way they went and bat it and played the game.
So when in Queensland first recognised your talents, I'm not sure, what's the structure like back home? Is there an academy system? How does it work?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to here. I'm a bit long in the tooth now. I went through. I played a lot of junior carnivals representing your region from your state, and then into state cricket. Didn't play in every state team, but made quite a few along the way. And in Brisbane at that time, I was only a 15-year-old making my A grade debut. In a one-day game, I remember. So I was lining up with guys like Kepler Vessels and Alan Border, Greg Ritchie. They were in my team. So to as a 15-year-old, schoolboy, it's quite an eye-opener. But from there, we had a under-19 system which was very strong. I played 2 years of that, and from there it was basically, in that time in the grade system, we didn't just have club cricket. Club sides. We had a Colts team, which was the best up and coming under 18 to under 21 players playing in the competition as a team, with an older player, maybe 2 older players at times, to nurture your talent and teach you how to play the game of cricket. Because I think there's a misconception that whilst you play with your teammates and you like age groups, you don't learn a hell of a lot. And I think if you're a young man playing against a man, if you're a 17-year-old playing against a 28-year-old, you're going to learn a hell of a lot quicker. And, if you've got people around you to teach you how to get through that, I think that's a pretty good process for success. And that's what I had. I was lucky enough. I played men's cricket when I was very young. Came through the grades, so 5th grade, played with my father. Worked my way up through the grade cricket in 3rd grade, 2nd grade, then into 1st grade. And in those days, mate, I had to score plenty of runs to be noticed to play for Queensland. I remember scoring 600s in about 8 bats, and I got invited down to practice. This day and age, you get a 60, and people expect you to play for Australia. So it was a slightly different, regime, slightly different program, but very glad I came through the way I did, and I did it through basically weight of performances.
And then when you eventually did get your debut in the stateside, I think in your second game you got 170. I think in the 1990 season as well, you were averaging over 70. So you took to the professional game like a duck to water.
Yeah, second game. Funny story about that. Alan Border was captaining the Queensland side, and I'd made 179. We lost a couple of days through, or a day and a bit through rain, as you do in Brisbane at just before Christmas. It's quite thundery and what have you. So we lost a couple of days and made 179. I thought, we're going all right. We got the first innings points. I was feeling pretty happy with myself and sat down in the news conference, and I remember AB standing up next to me when asked, he got asked the question, is this kid, is he the next, so-and-so, is he going to play for Australia? And Alan got up and put his hand on my head and said, boys, he's done it once, let's see if he can do it again. And then walked out. I went, okay, fair enough. So that didn't impress him, 179, had to do it over and over again. So once again, a very valuable lesson. I learned a lot from Alan. He was a very tough man, but he told you the truth, and I was very appreciative. He told me the truth. Sometimes it really did hurt. He called me names I never knew existed. But all in all, it was down to him to make sure that we knew what we were getting into. And professional sport's not easy. It's not an easy ride. So you've got to be prepared to do the tough stuff as well. And if you don't hear the truth, you can't get better.
So you eventually went to Skipper Queensland. I think you captained them to 5 Sheffield Shields titles, a couple of one-day trophies. Did captaincy come easy to you?
Not really. It was one of those. I didn't want to be. I wasn't seeking the captaincy. You wanted to be a member of the team. I was still struggling to cement my spot in the team. I'd played a couple of really good years and had a slump, and I was in the team, out of the team. So I was still fighting for my survival, really. And I remember the board, one of the board members came to me and said, right, we're going to make you captain. If it works, it works. If not, we find out a lot about you. And, the old saying is captaincy can make you go one of two ways. You either fly or you sink and, you disappear. So I was very lucky. Once again, I had guys like Ian Healy around, still playing, to call on his experience. Alan Border was still playing. Carl Rackerman, very experienced players, cricketers, Queensland legends, to sit there and learn from. So whilst I did it reluctantly at first, I grew into the role. And I don't think you're born to do leadership. I think you have to learn it. You have to live it. And I was very lucky to have great teachers around me. Plus, I learned how it's so true. When you're the captain, the buck stops with you. People think it's the coaching staff. It's actually the captain. You're the one making the decisions out on the field. If it doesn't go well, it's balls in your court. So I knew that my performances had to improve. I knew that my relationship with all the players had to be of a standard that, bowlers would run through a brick wall for you, because you're asking them to do things that sometimes are humanly impossible. On a flat wicket to get 10 wickets twice, you're asking them to do that. So I learned how to, relate to players differently through a sports psychologist. And, from there we had success. But Queensland was always blessed with immense talent, a bit of a bridesmaid for a long time. But once we won, learned how to win one, we managed to win quite a few. So it was a great period of time. 10 years I was in the seat. So we had a great time.
And then on the international stage, 1994, you made your ODI debut for Australia against Zimbabwe. But at that stage, was your game more suited to the shorter format or the longer format, in your opinion?
In my opinion, no. I thought I was more suited to the longer format. I was told by the selectors, national selectors, that I'm a one-day player. I think they just made it up as they went along half the time. I debuted, wasn't draped in any great, didn't do well in the first couple of games. I remember 4 games in, and Mark Taylor came to me just after the toss. You know, he's won the toss. We're batting. He walks up to me and says, you know, we've got half an hour before we go out to bat. You're opening today. I'm going to slide down to number 6. All the best. Good luck. That was my 4th game of cricket for Australia. And I thought, well, okay, that's how it is. You know, these days, if you don't get a day's notice, there's uproar. I got 25 minutes notice to say I was moving up from number 7 or number 6 to open the batting. And, you know, luckily for me, I went out and made 110 in my 4th game. And then reality hit the next game playing against England in Sydney. I was down batting at 6 or 7 again. So it was short-lived. It would have been nice to have had a real run at it in one position. I remember the 96 World Cup. I batted at 5 for the whole tournament. Occasionally we used Shane Warne as a pinch hitter, but my position was consistent. And I came back one of the best performed batters in the 96 World Cup. And, you know, from that moment on, I realised that once you have a settled spot and you know your role, it's not very easy, but it's easier to go out and put performances on the board. So yeah, came back the 2nd or 3rd best performed batter on that trip, and next series, which is only a month later, I didn't even make the squad. So I don't know what I did wrong a lot of the times, but it was an up and down time, my Australian career. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed playing against, you know, the great, you know, West Indian bowlers, Ambrose, Walsh, Gibson, Bishop. Played against Malcolm Marshall as well, right at the end, thank goodness. But, you know, played against Wasamakra and Wacko Yunus. I really enjoyed that. It just didn't quite work out for me, you know, for the longevity side of thing. I played 50-odd one-days and one test, but I would have loved to have played a hell of a lot more, but it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, so we've got to ask you about that one test match. You made your debut in 1995, coming for an injured Steve Waugh. You got 50 not out. Why did you only play one test? What was the communication like? Did you have any with the hierarchy?
Well, I still ask Trevor Holmes, who was the chairman of selectors back then too, the question, you know, why? And he said, well, you had to score runs. And I said, okay. Well, the captain declared on me. I couldn't do much more than what I did. And to be honest, mate, I wasn't keeping out a player, was I? I was keeping out Steve Waugh, who at the time was one of Australia's, you know, greatest, you know, legend of the game in Australia. So for me to leapfrog guys like that, I had to be, you know, playing out of my skin every minute of the day. And at times I didn't, when the opportunities were there, I didn't score runs in domestic cricket. But having been told, you know, before that test match, make it very difficult for us to drop you. I don't think I did too much wrong, to be honest. And they found it quite easy to drop me and never pick me again. So it's one of those ones, you know. I was bitter there for a while. I really was. I got angry and upset, and it probably, you know, lost a few friendships, a few mateships along the way. But, you know, unless you live it and go through it, you get told one thing and something else happens. To me, I don't like that. I don't like being lied to. I don't like lying to people either. I like hearing it straight. If I wasn't good enough, please just tell me I'm not good enough. I'll go away and try and prove you wrong. But it was never that. It was always, oh no, go and score more runs. You know, you're nearly there. We're just waiting for this and waiting for that. And when the opportunity came, nothing happened. So, you know, bittersweet memories of my Australian career. And, you know, who knows? In time, I'll be able to sit down and write a book and divulge a lot more information on it, and hopefully people get a good insight into what we actually had to put up with in those times.
Just one last one on this. Obviously, you did continue to score bag full of runs. In the UK, you came over. I'm going to get onto it. Just kept churning them out. But was there any conversations you had? Like, did they keep with the selectors? There must have been.
Yeah, there was plenty. I remember coming over and playing for Essex. My first year, I got 1,600 runs in the championship, and you know, truckload in the one day stuff as well. And I went back to Trevor Holmes and said, mate, I've just scored this many runs. He goes, no, England runs don't count. You got to score them back here in Australia. And a couple of years later, Justin Langer went over to county cricket, scored a bucket load of runs, and got picked in the Australian team because he had a really good county season. So it just seemed to be one rule for one rule for another. In my looking at it back now, that's what it felt like. And all I try to do, I got angry and I got upset at times. Every time I played in a county match, that was my test match. Because you end up playing against, play Yorkshire, you're playing against Darren Gough and some great bowlers, Andy Caddick for when you play Somerset. So there's the opening England attack, and if you're scoring runs against them, you're doing pretty well. So that was my gauge. But unfortunately for me, every time I did something, the goalpost moved and someone else got a leg up. I would have, as I say, I would have loved someone just to sit me down and go, honestly, this is what you need to be doing. You need to forget about that. You need to work on this. You need to get better at this. And, then I would have had something to work for. But, to constantly get told, oh, no, score runs, you're doing everything right, it sends a bad message when you don't get picked. When no one else is scoring runs, you're the next cab off the rank and someone else leapfrogs you. You think, what have I done? Who have I upset? You just want to know. But, no one's given the answer. Maybe before I hit the grave, they might have the courage to pick up a phone and let me know what actually went on. But till then, I'll be very happy with what I did in cricket. To finish a career with averaging over 50 in 380 odd games is a pretty good effort.
I know you mentioned the 96 World Cup. Australia got to the final, fortunately came short against Sri Lanka. But from a mental perspective, playing in such a high-profile, high-pressured game, how was that as a player?
Well, mate, to be honest, no disrespect to the Sri Lankan team, but we played the semi-final against the West Indies in Chandigarh, and I walked out to bat at 3 for 7. We're in absolute strife, and to come through and just be able to put together a partnership with Michael Bevan, we put a score on the board that we ended up defending. So going into the final, you're pretty confident knowing that you got the might of the West Indies bowling 1,000 miles an hour on a wicket that didn't bounce much, but still skiddy and what have you. They're fast enough to upset you. To come through that and contribute a great deal in that semi-final gave me great confidence. And I think we messed up the Sri Lankans got us by they outsmarted us at the toss. I think we won the toss and batted. They were going to bowl anyway, because at night time when that dew hit the ground in Lahore, it was 35 degrees during the day and it was about 4 degrees at night. So the dew, when it hit the ground, was about an inch deep. I remember the ball going over the outfield, and I was fielding it out in the boundary. You could hardly see it. And the ball rolling on the ground had a massive fantail coming off it, like a speedboat going across the lake, the big tail that comes off. Warney couldn't spin it. We couldn't swing it. McGrath couldn't seam it. And the Sri Lankans just absolutely blitzed us. So, credit to them, mate. They played the conditions better than us. We didn't think about, that in depth. We just thought our way is the best way, and we ended up getting absolutely walloped. So, full credit to Aravinda. Played a absolutely breathtaking innings. One of the greatest players going around. So, it was a hats off to them.
You said that we also mentioned that you came over to England, played for Essex, I think 1996. You scored 8,500 championship runs. Would the highlights be the 97 NatWest final and the 98 Benson and Hedges?
With Essex, there's a lot of highlights at Essex. Highlights don't necessarily come with success. But I poured my heart and soul into Essex. I got recommended by Alan Border, so I knew if I came over here and didn't do well, I was going to, cop a clip around the ear when I got home. So I knew I had to perform. And Essex, there's a lot of talk about the way it ended at Essex, but believe me, it didn't end badly for me. I've still got great mates in Chelmsford, around Essex. I love going back to the ground. It just brings us back so many great memories. My time was up. They wanted me gone, and I had to move on. But that final, the Benson and Hedges final, was a great day out to chase down 170 in no time with my great mate Paul Pritchard, who got 50 odd at the other end. And then the Benson and Hedges the year after, I didn't score any runs, but it was an interesting one for me. First time that a game had gone into the next day. We batted first, and the rain came, and we came back and finished it up the next morning. But anytime you win a trophy, special. The NatWest probably tips it because I was lucky enough to win Player of the Match, and presented me trophy by Sir Garfield Sobers. So pretty nice touch. And Essex was great. I got my highest first class score at Essex against Somerset at Chelmsford. So I've got some great memories. Great mates still there. I still when I can catch up with them. Bumped into Graham Gooch last year and had a great chat, and did a charity night for him. So look, I got no animosity from this side of the fence. It might be coming from that side, but nothing from here, mate.
Just a word on the ending. I know it's been well documented. The differences would be the best word to say with Ronnie Irani. Was it Nasser Hussain as well? Just a word on that.
Yeah, look, no, they were in charge of the club, so they wanted to go in a different direction, and I just didn't fit into their plans, and that was fine. I didn't. It didn't hurt me. It didn't upset me. I would have loved to have stayed at Essex because it was a great place to bat, great place to play cricket, great place to live. You live in Essex, at least you get a summer. Moving up north into Manchester, you didn't really get a summer. It was winter all year round. But it was one of those things, mate. Clashed, personalities clashed, agendas changed. I didn't want to captain the team. I just wanted to play. I know some sections of the membership and some sections of the committee room wanted me to captain because I was captain at Queensland and successful, but I never wanted that. I just wanted to go and enjoy myself and play cricket. And the way I enjoyed myself probably didn't, wasn't looked too fondly on by the guys in charge at the club. And, with that, there was a great bunch of young players who I spent a lot of time with and what have you. It was just a shame it ended the way it did, but once again, it wasn't down to the fact that I fell out with anyone. Just a change of guard, and circumstances changed. I wasn't required, so I had to move on.
And then the move to Lancs. How did that come about in terms of who did someone approach you? How did the move come about?
Well, I'll tell you what, Neil. It did start. My wife, I married a girl from Lancashire. She's from Liverpool, so it was always on the agenda to look to go home to her, close to her family and friends and blah blah blah. And it just so happened Essex were playing Lancashire at Old Trafford. It was around September, I think it was, or August. They had Murali Dhuran, and I remember during the first innings, I spoke to Warren Hegg, who was the captain, and it was at the time when John Crawley had fallen out with someone at Lancs, and he was moving to Hampshire. And I just said to Warren, I said, I remember asking him, I hear you're looking for a number 4 batsman. And he said, oh yeah, well, we might be, we're not sure, blah, blah, blah. So I got 100 not out in the first innings of the championship. Came out in the second innings, got 100 not out in the second innings. And I remember still asking him all the way through it, you sure you're not looking for a number 4 batsman? And then I got 100 in the one-day game, the 40-over game, the next night. So I got 300s in 4 days against them. And as I was walking off from the third 100 in the 40-over game, he said, mate, hang around, we'll have a chat at the end of this game. So that's how it basically started. It just through a bit of jest and a bit of fun. This day and age, it'd be sledging, not banter. It'd be sledging, but we had a chat, we had a beer at the end of the day's play, and by the time I'd got back to Essex, it was basically not signed, sealed, and delivered, but the talking had begun, and the option to move there, which once it was offered, I couldn't say no. My wife was really happy going back to being close to, as I say, family and friends. It became a perfect fit, and I absolutely love Manchester. I reckon it's one of the greatest cities going around, and I enjoy going back there. We've actually just bought a property there again now, and moving back there for good. So can't wait.
Then how do you sum up your time on the playing field there? Just came up short on the trophy front, unfortunately.
Yeah, we did. There was a lot of times we had great battles with Sussex. Sussex were the championship winning team in that era. anyone with Mushtaq Ahmed, taking 100 wickets every season, you're going to go close to winning championships. And they had good batters around them too, and well led by a rough, tough Chris Adams, good captain, tough batter, but just a fierce competitor. So we had great run-ins with them, and I remember we came second a couple of times to Sussex, and once was by about 5 points, where through the season they'd lost 200 overs of play, and we'd lost about 1,000. I'm sure that out of the 1,000 overs, we could have made up 6 points somewhere to win the championship, and I happened to say that somewhere along the lines, and he took offence to it, saying we're just not good enough and whatever. We weren't. We got to a final, once again against Sussex. They beat us in that C&G Trophy final at Lords, which was disappointing. We got the semi-finals of the T20 stuff. Didn't quite manage to win a trophy, which was not great for me. I'd love to have won something for Lancashire, repaid the faith, but still put my heart and soul and sweated blood for the county out in the cricket ground, and we got close and just not quite good enough at times. The real win would have been the championship chase, where we had to chase 485, I think, against Surrey at the Oval. Last game of the season, we had to win it to win the championship, and we had to get about 430 on the last day, and we finished 20 short, which was heartbreaking. But we'll fight to the end. We never gave up. We kept playing to win every time, and that's what I'll hang my hat on with Lancashire. We always tried to win every game of cricket we played in, and if we didn't do it, we weren't good enough. The other team was good enough to beat us. So, mate, still great memories. And as I say, I love going back. It's different now, going back to the ground. It's completely changed, and it looks an absolute picture now. It looks fantastic. So, it's a great place, great memories again. I've got fond memories of everywhere I played, to be honest. But in England, pretty special playing at Test grounds, and Lancashire's up there. Old Trafford's one of the iconic grounds in world cricket.
And then the move into coaching. I know you left Lancs in 2008. You had a little stint with Derby, but then linking up with Trevor Bayliss as assistant coach for Sri Lanka. How did that come about?
I rang Murali. I knew that they were looking for someone, and I played against Murali in international cricket, county cricket. And I knew they were looking for an assistant. I rang him and I said, mate, what's the go with this assistant coach? And he spoke to me for about 10 minutes and then, hung up. And then half an hour later, Trevor Bayliss gives me a call and said, we'd love you to come and, work with us. It was leading in 2009. It was leading into the 2011 World Cup. And I thought what a great opportunity to work with some of the greatest players in the world. Murali Dhuran, Lasith Malinga, Sangakkara, Mahela Jayawardene, Sanat Jayasuriya, and the like, Dilshan. So to go there and experience something completely different was, not planned, but it just happened to work out that way. Just so happened, before I got the call from Trevor Bayliss, I just managed to arrange a batting coach gig with Middlesex. I'd just spoken to Gus Fraser, and we worked out a plan that, okay, I'll work 70 odd days a year and come in at this time and that time and whatever. And as soon as we didn't sign anything, just a verbal agreement, I got the phone call on the way home. I was driving home and I had to ring Gus straight away and say, look, mate, I'm really sorry about this. I've just been offered the assistant coach's role with Sri Lanka. And, credit to Gus, he just went, mate, well, while you're talking to me, off you go, enjoy it, go and do it. So I'm very glad I did. I learned a lot, working under Trevor Bayliss. He's one of the most misunderstood blokes, I reckon, going around. Such a great coach, very thoughtful bloke, but very calm and collected. I learned a lot from him about demeanour around cricket.
What makes him such a great coach? Obviously, he's had the success with England. Yeah, in your opinion?
He's just
the greatest attributes.
He's just a good bloke. His knowledge of the game is, second to none. But, people rib him because he hadn't played the highest level. But he played a New South Wales team that basically was a test side, and he was good enough to play in that one. So Mate, he basically played for Australia every time he played first class cricket. But just the way he goes about it, he's from the country, very quiet, very shy. Keeps himself to himself. But when he speaks, he actually, he makes you sit up and listen. And that's a rare quality this day and age. He doesn't say much, but when he does, it's really worth listening to. And just to watch him, work about his cricket. He had fun with the young kids. He said, look, you got to treat them like they're your sons. They are. They're in your charge. You've got to look after them on and off the field. And you could see him interacting with them, mucking around, telling jokes, playing jokes on them. They were playing jokes on him, and just the relationship was outstanding. And I think that's part of him just being so relaxed. Nothing really bothered him. If someone upset him, he'd go, "Oh well, that's all right. I'll move on, and we'll work out another way to get about it." He's a different character. He's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoyed working with him. He was great.
Yes, I said that you got to the final in 2011. After that tournament, you had a little stint as the interim coach when Trevor Bayliss left. And then you got the opportunity to work for Bangladesh. Were you ready to take the lead as the head coach?
Looking back now, no, I wasn't nowhere near it. But I sometimes, I'm the type of person, you don't learn until you actually do it. You've seen coaches that you've had through your playing time. You pick pieces out of them, saying, "Yeah, I'll do that. That's really good. That works." Or I'm not going to do that. That irritated the life out of everybody, so you don't do that. So you get an idea of what players do and don't like. No, I wasn't quite ready. I wasn't 100% ready for it, but I thought, what a great challenge. Right out of your comfort zone, living in a place like Dhaka, which, to a young Aussie boy, is completely different to what you're used to day in, day out. But it really did. It really helped me grow as a person more than anything, understand, what life's really all about, because it's so confronting walking the streets. We were able to get around, and, we're lucky enough to have, a driver assigned to you, because you can't drive in the traffic over there. It's mayhem. But to get out and around and see the country was an eye-opener. And I'm really glad I did it. Glad I worked with guys like, Mushfiq Rahim, Shakib Al Hassan, Tamim Iqbal, you name it. Those guys, they were unbelievably talented. At that time, they probably didn't realise how good they could be. And slowly over the last, 5 to 10 years, they've shown the world that, they can compete against anybody in any conditions. And, young Mushfiq, he's mighty mouse. He's only a little bloke, but geez, he packs a punch. And I just love watching him go about his cricket. He loves playing. He loves playing the right way. And it was good for me. It really was. I enjoyed it. Might not have been ready for it, but we started having some success, and we didn't win a trophy or a series. But back then, Bangladesh weren't supposed to. And we got to a final of an Asia Cup. We played Pakistan, who the big brothers of Bangladesh, and we should have beat them in the final. We should have absolutely, walked it in the end. And unfortunately, we just didn't have that knowledge of winning, and we fell short. But to get into an Asia Cup final was probably, the biggest achievement they'd had for a number of years, and it was nice to be a part of.
And then also you had the 18-month stint working as the head coach for West Indies. How was that? And also just a word, obviously they're touring the UK in the English summer. A word on how you think the series will go and players we should look out for?
Oh, look, mate, 2 years I was there with the West Indies. And it was probably the greatest time I've had in cricket as a coach. Working with the young talented test players was such a treat. It really was. It's a misconception they don't like cricket. They absolutely love cricket. They all want to play test cricket. T20 is the big focus, and they're very good at it because they're extremely powerful, naturally gifted athletes. But if you can harness that ability and power and what have you, and temper it and get them a bit fitter so they can do it for longer, they'd be a force in any form. So, no, it was really great. I was fortunate enough to, spend a lot of time with them. And, we actually had some, good successes, won some series, won a famous match at Headingley. And look, they've still got some talented boys. They're going to be one tour better off too, coming here this time, know what to expect. I think the fact that they're not playing a day-night test match is going to help, because that was the one that we played first at Edgbaston and England blew us away. Very difficult. You're not used to playing day-night games. It's very, very off-putting if you get off on the wrong foot on day one. It's hard to drag it back. So, look, I think guys like Kemar Roach he's going to be a major threat to England. He's skillful with the ball, swings it both ways. He's not express pace anymore, but he's fast enough to give you enough trouble. Jason Holder's been one of the best all-rounders, if not the best all-rounder in world cricket over the last couple of years. Shannon Gabriel's coming back now. He's a massive part of their plan. If he can stay fit or get fit, and if he can bowl his 95 mile an hour all day, he'll test the English batting lineup. Young Azari Joseph is one of my favourites. He swings the ball at good pace. And they've got a new kid, Shamar Holder, who bowls again, good pace, tall kid. Yeah. Not a massive swinger of the ball, but bashes it in and at real good pace. So, Shea Hope's still leading the batting attack. He's a class act. When he goes, it's worth paying your admission fee just to watch him. Craig Brathwaite at the top of the order being, the old guard, and they've got a couple of new young kids coming through. So, it's a quite a balanced attack. To be honest, good team. If they can get everyone fit and strong and healthy and remain healthy for the 3 tests, they can cause an upset. And I think England found that out in the Caribbean when, people say England took them too lightly or did this and did that. I don't think so. I think that West Indies were up for a fight and they came and everything they tried came off. So there's no reason why the West Indies can't do it again.
And then in beginning of 2019, you took the reins as the head coach of Middlesex. How is it coming back into county cricket, but this time as a head coach, and with the resumption of cricket imminent, the aim for the season?
Yeah, look, I really enjoyed. I love county cricket. I reckon county cricket's one of the best competitions domestically going around, if not the best. It teaches you a lot about yourself. You learn to play tired, which not a lot of people don't realise how tough that is. Playing shield cricket, you always had a build up to the game. You had a chance to recover and then build up to the next game. So you're always quite fresh. County cricket didn't really have that chance. It felt like you were going to bed with your pads on some weeks. So to come back into that understanding that it's going to be tough, it was great. We got a great bunch of lads here at Middlesex. They're very driven. They're very, very determined to get things right here. Middlesex don't, according to these guys, don't deserve to be in the second division, along with their membership. That's what they firmly believe as well. So it's up to us now to get it right. And, we showed some good signs last year. Didn't quite, get the batting right at times. Our bowling was okay in spurts, but, there may have been reasons for that. So this year we were looking for a bit of a fresh start, fresh attitude, new ideas. And, when we get started again, look, can't wait to get started again. 1st of August. Depending on the formats, but it's still an opportunity to win 2 trophies, and I want our players to come back thinking like that. It's not just great to get back and play some cricket. It is, but there's also something meaningful at the end of the summer to strive for. And if you can pick up 1 trophy, 2 trophies, you can hang your hat and say you've had a hell of a time. 2020 has been an interesting year, but at least we got something to show for it, which would be great.
Any young players that we should look out for?
Yeah, look, I don't like putting the raz on people or pumping them up too much, but we have got Max Holden's one of the he's been touted as an England player of the future for a number of years now. So is Nick Gubbins. we've got a kid coming back from. He was on loan at Derby. Tom Lace comes back into our lineup. For me, the exciting one is Martin Anderson. He's Swedish or Scandinavian background, but he can bat and he bowls pretty handy medium pace as well. But just a level-headed kid for his age, and he came into the team last year, and we were in disarray at Old Trafford against Lancashire, and we were nowhere in the second innings. He peeled off 92, deserved 100, the kid, but just missed out on that. But just watching him bat, looked like he'd been playing county cricket for 10 years, and that's a good sign that a young man can do that. Great shots as well. Wasn't it? Edging them through third slip. He was back foot driving and whipping off his pad. So he's one that excites me. I think he's got a bright future. I reckon he can go all the way and be there for a long time.
Perfect, Stuart. Really appreciate your time. Fantastic insight into your career, and all the best when the season resumes.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. No, it's been a pleasure, mate. Hope it goes well for you too.
Cheers. So Neel Khagram, Cricket Last Stories, Stuart Law. Thank you.